Good afternoon, fellow Plexers. Today's video is going to be an ambitious project where we get Portainer and then Plex Server installed under Ubuntu 24.04, and we'll be able to have that Plex install point to local media on the boot drive of Ubuntu and to a flash drive to represent portable USB storage. And we'll show you how to do it on a system with an NVIDIA 3060 12 gigabyte GPU, and also give instructions on how to do it with a Intel iGPU for a system that doesn't have a video card added to it. I actually preferred hardware accelerated transcoding off an Intel iGPU versus the NVIDIA GPU. So we'll show you how to do it both ways, but the real test will be on the NVIDIA GPU. First off, this is a brand new install of Ubuntu 24.04. Let's take a look at the hardware we're using. We'll go to Settings, down to System, About. Here's my motherboard. It's an Asus Z690 board. My processor is a 12th gen i9 12900K. I have 64 gigabytes of memory. Now my system really has three 2 terabyte NVMe drives. We're booted off one of the 2 terabyte drives. If we drop into system details, you'll see my video card. And again, this misrepresents my disk capacity. We're only booted off one of the 2 terabyte drives. And we're running this Linux kernel. Okay, so where do we start? We're going to start by following this wonderful guide by WonderTech. Unfortunately, he does not have a guide to install Plex right after getting Portainer installed under Ubuntu or Debian. And his instructions are the same for both Linux operating systems. And he has a warning that it must be performed on Ubuntu 22.04 or greater. He doesn't have a warning on what version of Debian, but I followed these instructions on Debian 12.7 or 12.6, and the new Debian 13 is out, and these instructions should work there too. So, under Ubuntu, hopefully you have terminal pinned to your dock, and I have a companion video I filmed earlier today showing you how to customize Ubuntu like I've customized it. But let me just show you the one quick thing so you can get this looking, your install looking like mine. Under Ubuntu desktop, you can position the dock from the left to the bottom, and by switching to panel mode, let's see the dock. Switching away from panel mode, you can center on your screen, and you can adjust the size. So if you want to look exactly like I am as you follow along, those are the two settings to change. So what I've done is I found terminal. Well, let's do it this way. Let's go to this Show Apps button and find terminal. Sometimes I can't see when I'm speaking and thinking about what to say next. And obviously I can't see terminal on this page. So let's do it this way. Let's click up here in the upper left, type terminal, and then right click and we'll pin it to the dock. I'll hit escape to get out. And now with terminal pinned, we'll just open it. And let me skinny this up. Okay, so first we're just going to highlight all this. You can use Control-C on your keyboard or right-click and choose Copy. You cannot use Control-V in terminal under Ubuntu. So you have to right click at the cursor and choose paste and then hit enter. And now type your user password. And we can make this full screen as we see what's going on. So those commands preps Ubuntu for the next command. So we're going to highlight that and leave it highlighted so when you come back to it you know where to go next. I'm going to right click. Let me make this full screen and hit enter. I'll answer with a Y and the enter key to continue. So just take a look. As long as you're not getting an error and your screen looks like mine, you're doing well. So let's do all of these one at a time. Control C to copy, right click and paste, and I'll hit enter. Now we'll do this one. Right click, copy. I'll make this full screen again. Right click and paste. And then we'll grab this one. Control C to copy. Right click and paste. Now at this point I'm going to type CLEAR to clear the screen. Alright, so this we're going to copy all of it. And Wonder Text shows us what you would see as it's working. I'm not sure how everything resizes itself, but let's right click and paste that command in, hit enter. And now let's slide down and we'll do the sudo apt-get update command again, which was part of this first command. So as soon as you're back to the terminal prompt, the command has finished executing. So now this is all one. I'll right click and copy. Right click here and paste and enter. I'll answer yes with a Y and the enter key. So we're back at the terminal prompt. So now I'll start the Docker service. So now we can install Portainer, and this will be the same for all of us. Now let's talk about something before we do that. So I do have that started up. Start a scratch pad. Let me get something handy here. Start a scratch pad and paste this in. So this is without security and this is with security. If you want to make a Chrome app, use this one. So paste that in and then go to Settings, find Network, click the little gear icon and make note of your IP address. Let's see if we can copy that. And I'm going to get rid of in brackets workstation IP address and paste in the actual IP address. That's how we'll access Portainer for the first time. So I'll cancel out of this, close Settings, and then you should have this already configured for yourself, because if you don't get Portainer set up with a username and password right away, you'll have to stop the container manually and restart it. And then you only have a short period of time to set your username and password. So whatever you want your user to be, and then whatever you want your password to be. I'm not going to use that. I use the same password for all my instances of Portainers, and I have a few because I have a few test Plex servers, and I use the same password for those as I do with my main Portainer instance with my working containers. So just get that set in a scratch pad, and I firmly believe in very secure passwords. I've shown this before. Security.org has this, how secure is my password? And let's check this one. It was just random characters I typed. Let's paste it in here. And you see just that little bit of random characters is 9 quadrillion years to crack. Some people use a password manager. My phone is very secure. I keep a Google Doc of all my passwords, one after the other as I add them. The sequence doesn't matter because when I open Google Docs up, I keyword search the password I'm looking for. I find it in 2 seconds and I have it. So just use a good password even for this kind of stuff. Don't use the same password for everything. Now, I'm running multiple test versions of Portainer, so I do use the same passwords for all of those installs, but I wouldn't use the same password for another service after using it for Portainer. So just have that ready, because now we're going back to the instructions. And where do we leave off here? The Docker start. All right, right here. So now we have to install Portainer, and we'll copy all of this. And that's something to talk about when we get the Plex container installed. This Docker container is going to be buried inside of the operating system files under Ubuntu. You can install Plex there too, but I'd rather create a separate folder off from home, just called Docker lowercase, to have my Plex configuration there. And if you're doing a trash guides install later on, I would keep all that stuff someplace you can see it, because if you just stop all your containers, you could easily back up that file if it's right there in front of you in home. But we'll just leave everything default for Portainer, because everything's easy to spin back up if you keep your configurations, and your other container configurations will be right where you see it already backed up. So Control C, paste, and then enter, and we are creating the first container, which is Portainer. So I'm going to minimize this, and now we go back to our web URL, copy that, and the instructions are to use that. So we'll start a new tab, and in this area up top I'll paste that and hit enter. I'll have to continue to cite, and now I'm at Portainer. So let me find my actual password. I'm going to change admin, which is default, to just my username. And I'm going to paste in my default password. And create user. Now I'm in. So now we are going to switch to some instructions by Marius Hosting. That's a great resource if you own a Synology NAS. Marius has 2 Facebook groups, one for Synology NAS models and one for Ugreen. Well, he really has just the one site here, but he has 2 different Facebook groups for each of the types of NAS models. And he has wonderful instructions, and he really tells you how to set up Portainer very well. So we're going to skip down, and you can just search Marius Hosting space Portainer space Ugreen and find these instructions. Alright, so we're into Portainer. So we're going to start step 20. So let me pull this off to my other monitor. Bring Portainer into focus. And the first thing Marius has us do is click on to get started. And on the right, he has us click on the pencil icon to go to that screen. And then we type the IP address here of our NAS. Of our Ubuntu install. And if I bring my cheat sheet back up, for my Ubuntu machine, it's that same IP address we got from the settings under the network option. No port number, just the IP address. So then we'll update the environment here. And we've got confirmation up here in the upper right that we've updated it. And then he has us click Live Connect. And your dashboard will look like this. Well, actually, on his page, he has it looking like, let's go to Home, like this. So I just went to Home to have it look the same as his instructions. And now he's going to have us add some registries that might help you in the future if you're adding other containers. So we'll slide over to the left and scroll down to registries. And we'll add a registry, and then we'll click on Custom Registry. And the first one we're going to add is GitHub. So from his instructions, you can paste in the URL and then just type GitHub. And then add registry. Now we'll do this 2 more times. So I'll click Add Registry again, Custom Registry, and the next one is codeberg.org. So I'll paste that here. And then I'll just be lazy and paste it again and get rid of the ORG and add registry. So we'll click Add Registry one more time, Custom Registry, and the last is Quay.io. So I'm going to copy that from his instructions, and we'll just call it the same, give it the same name, and add registry. So now we're all set with Portainer. Now, what I like to do on a desktop system, especially if this is my production version of Portainer and not a test version like this happens to be, I like to use Chrome apps, and let me give you a demonstration of that. I have Chrome app for the Plex web app right here. It opens up full screen. It happened to open up off screen. It's a single page Chrome browser window that leads right to this site, and it's just perfect if you want to create an icon for web pages without having to open them up in your web browser through multiple tabs. So that's why we logged in with the unsecure option. If we logged in with the secure option, the web app wouldn't work. So at Portainer, go wherever you want to start from, which will be home from me. but maybe you'd want to click on the whale icon and start at this page, or even start at your running container page. I'm going to start with home. So I'll go to these three dots in the upper right hand side of Google Chrome. I'll drop down to Cast, Save, and Share, and I will install Pages app, not create shortcut. So I'm going to rename it Portainer Ubuntu Tutorial, because I already have a Chrome app created for my working Portainer. I'm working Ubuntu boot with another test server of Plex Server. So I'll install that, and you see how that opened up in its own window? We don't have an icon for it yet. So I'll close that. Let me minimize my web browser. Now I'll go up and search for Portainer, and you see it right here. So I can right click on it and pin to the dash. I'll hit escape to get onto this, escape again, and you see I have the Portainer icon, and when I open that, it opens in its own window, independent of my web browser. I'm going to drag the Portainer instructions back in, so when I put this video up on YouTube, I have all the URLs I'll need to list in the description. And I've also got a paste bin going on that I can post, so you can have the instructions on how to get Plex going in a Docker container. So I'm going to finish this video right now, and I'll join another video to this one of how to get Plex installed now that we have Portainer installed. Be back shortly.